Welcome back, microbiologists. So, you have now taken your second test, and now we're going to jump back to chapter 14. We're going to cover some principles of disease, how microbes cause disease, how diseases spread, and how our immune system responds. So, in this unit, we'll cover chapters 14, 15, 16, and 17 before your next exam. In 14, we're going to be talking a lot about epidemiology. In this chapter, it really is a lot of terms. I feel like you have like 2 bazillion words to define, phrases to be able to explain, but not really terribly big, heavy concepts in this chapter. So when we start, here's some definitions to start with. Please pause and fill in the blanks in your work so that you have these diseases, or so you have these definitions. And here's some more definitions. One we're going to come back and talk about is this one, notifiable infectious disease. That if you have a patient come in with these diseases, you always have to report them to the public health department. This is things that could be, we're worried about outbreaks of things. We want to be able to contain the spread of disease, monitor things. A lot of these notifiable infectious diseases, we have a lot of things on this list that are very dangerous diseases. So we want to know right away if something is happening before it gets out of control. A lot of things on this list are going to be like sexually transmitted infections. So things that STIs tend to spread pretty easily, but also can be contained pretty easily. Things like signs of bioterrorism, or that you might need to have a pretty quick response to something. Okay, hope you've gotten your definitions here. Okay, so then what are the objectives of pathology? Those terms you just looked at. Next, one of my favorite things, let's talk about all the good junk that's all over our body. So in a typical human adult male, there are 1 times 10 to the 13th body cells, human cells on your body. That means if you write a 1 and then write 13 zeros after that, it's a really big number. We have a lot of cells in our body. But if you counted how many bacteria cells are in your body, it's 1 times 10 to the 14th. That means 10 bacteria for every human body cell. That means about 90% of the cells in your body are not people cells. By other estimates, it might be closer to 50% of the cells in your body are bacterial. So somewhere between 50 and 90% is a normal range for what percentage of cells in your body are bacterial. That's before you even start counting how many, fungal cells do you have? How many virus particles do you have? So a lot of this stuff in your body is not you. It's microbe. A lot of the DNA and the genetics going on in your body is not you. It's microbial. And so they make a lot of difference, a big impact on our body. Everything from your mental health to your digestive health to your immune system functioning correctly can all be impacted by your normal microbiota. Your normal microbiota are those microbes that can colonize your body under normal conditions. They're not causing disease. So the stuff that's on your skin but not hurting you, the stuff that's in your intestines but not hurting you, it's there, often even helping you. There's also a subset of normal microbiota that would be your transient microbiota. That word transient means temporary, just passing through. So they might be there for a few days or a few months, but eventually they're going to disappear. So this would be something like maybe you ate a carton of yogurt. So you have those microbes from the yogurt going through your digestive system. But if you are not supporting those microbes, if they're not able to permanently establish residence in your intestines and grow there, they're not going to stay there. They're eventually going to disappear. Or maybe you're out playing touch football with, your roommate's friends, people you don't normally see a lot, but you're out playing this football game and someone touches you. So some of their skin microbes get onto your body but it's not part of your normal microbiome. They're not really going to set up shop permanently. More than likely, a lot of that you get from other people that you rarely come in contact with that touch you, that's going to be your transient microbiome. There are some studies of the microbiome. The Human Microbiome Project is one that analyzes relationships between the microbes that are on your body and human health. So how does having this microbe affect your health? Or how does having that microbe affect your health? Do we need to have them working together to affect your health? Are they impacting, how you're able to digest this food or how you're able to do other things? Your microbiome, there are some studies that it might be established even in utero. That means while in utero is as a fetus inside a uterus before birth. Definitely during birth, a lot of the microbiome is established at that point. And a lot of what gets established on that baby for the first couple of days of their life is going to have a huge impact on what is permanently part of their life. So as that baby is passing through the birth canal, there are plenty of microbes in the mother's vaginal tract that are going to be colonized onto the baby. Babies that are born by cesarean, sometimes the medical staff will swab the mother's vaginal canal and swab that onto the baby to give them a good first contact with good microbes. The staff that are there helping deliver the baby, the microbes that are present in the birth environment will get onto the baby and can affect that baby. If a nurse is carrying antibiotic resistant microbes, that can be transferred to the baby and affect their baby's health. If the nurse is carrying very good, healthy microbiome, that could be impacting the baby's health. Then through food, microorganisms can be acquired from the food you're eating, from the people you're in contact with, the pets that are in your home. Are you running around barefoot in the dirt? Are you gardening a lot? Are you, what kinds of things are you touching that could be there? And also the food and people and pets you're in association with can impact the ability of the microbes to grow. So one example I think of would be breast milk. Breast milk has very complex sugars in it that people are not able to digest. Our enzymes, we don't have the enzymes that can break down some of those complex sugars found in breast milk. But a lot of the microbes that are helpful in the intestinal environment are able to break down those sugars in breast milk. So not only is the food that the baby's eating going to be bringing microbes in it, but it's also going to be feeding the microbes that you want to be associating with. A lot of formula companies, science of formula, baby formula has come a long way also at this point. And while it doesn't exactly replicate breast milk, there is still a lot of science evolving to help make formula that also will support a baby's microbiome. Here's some different beautiful images, I think, of the microbiome you have. So here, these little cilia is part of your nasal epithelium. You see a bit of mucus. This bluishness is your mucus. But these orange dots are microbes in your nasal epithelia. So I would call these cocci. These are probably a staphylococci or perhaps a streptococci growing in the nasal epithelium. This is the stomach. This kind of area here, this is a stomach wall. And the stomach materials. And then here, do you remember what kind of shape these are? These are spirochetes or spirilla on the lining in the stomach. We will come back later this semester and talk about some bacteria. Most bacteria are not able to grow in the stomach because of its acidity. But there's one species of bacteria we're going to come back and talk about, H. pylori, you may have heard of, that is able to grow on the lining in the stomach. And then this one's the large intestine. So your large intestine is very warm. It's very moist. It's got a lot of food. It's not got a ton of oxygen. So it is like Mecca. Your large intestines is just a fabulous place for microbes to grow. And you can see we have some rods. You can see we have some cocci. There's lots and lots of stuff. far and away, if you were to measure like per weight, what part of your body has the most microbes, it would be your intestines. And if you were to measure per like variety of organisms, what has the most microbiome, it would still be your intestines. So your microbiome really loves what's going on in your intestines. But you can tell what goes on in your nasal area is different from what's going on in your stomach, is different from what's going on in your large intestine. That's going to be different than what's going on your eyeball or in your armpit or under your fingernails. Each different environment of your body provides a slightly different amount of food, slightly different amounts of oxygen, of water, of different chemicals from your body that is going to affect those microbes' ability to grow. So we have different microbes in different parts of our body. The distribution and the composition of your microbiota are going to be determined by a lot of things. One would be the nutrients. So in your large intestines, we just said, all the food you've been eating is passing through there. There's lots of nutrients. On your skin, they might be able to have microbes that can digest sweat or skin oils. The physical and the chemical environment. So, your stomach has a lot of acidity. That's a part of its chemical environment. Host defenses. So what types of immune system, what types of antibodies or immune cells are present in that area. And mechanical factors. So just, our skin is constantly sloughing off. Our eyes are blinking. Our teeth are chewing. Your tongue is moving around your mouth. So those are different mechanical factors that can impact what's going on in different parts of your body. We do have microbes growing on your eye, it's primarily your conjunctiva, in your mouth, your upper respiratory system, that would be your nose and throat, your skin, your large intestines, and the urinary and reproductive systems. This would involve both the urethra in males and females and the vagina in females. One thing that I think is really interesting is that the vagina and the mouth, we don't often think of those as being very similar environments, but they are able to house very similar microbes in terms of the species that we see are going to be very similar in both of those areas. One fabulous thing that our normal microbiome does for us is something called microbial antagonism. Sometimes you'll see this called competitive exclusion. So this is when the microbes that you have on you are going to prevent other microbes from growing. So I think of it kind of as, if you have a street where every house has someone living in it, you're not likely to have one of those houses turn into a house where a lot of crime happens. But if there is a house that sits empty, just being empty, it's more likely to attract crime to that empty house, right? So it's the same thing with if you have a spot in your body where your normal microbiome is growing, it's less likely that something pathogenic and harmful is able to get in there and start doing harmful things. But if you have a part of your body that you have lost your microbiome, it's more likely that harmful microbes can get in there. So something like if you've been on a lot of antibiotics, you're more likely to get C. diff, types of things like that. Your harmful microbes are able to grow, to overgrow when you have a harm to your normal microbiome. Some of the things that we see in microbial antagonism, part of this competition between pathogens and your host microbiome, one would be a battle for nutrients. So when you have a healthy microbiome set up, it's eating the nutrients that are available. There's nothing left to feed a pathogen. One would be production of harmful substances. So things like antibiotics and other things that can be created by the microbes on your body. And one would be changing local pH. This is especially prevalent within like the vaginal canal, where a lactobacillus can grow and produce an acid as part of its fermentation. And that lowering of that pH makes it less likely to have a yeast infection. But if you are on antibiotics and those microbiome are kind of killed off, you're more likely to get a yeast infection at that point. So often a physician or a pharmacist will recommend for a female when she is taking antibiotics to also take yogurt or some other sort of probiotic that could help keep up her normal microbiome. Between us and our microbiome, we have a symbiosis going on. So symbiosis is the same if, you've seen those like oxen that have little birds on their back, or sharks that have little fish that swim between their teeth. Two organisms, two different species that live together. In this class, primarily the symbiosis we're talking about is between humans and our microbiome. And this comes in three different forms: commensalism, mutualism, and parasitism. Commensalism is when one organism benefits and the other organism is completely unaffected. One example would be us and the cyanobacteria that can live on our eye. So if you do or don't have that bacteria on your eye, your health is not affected. It doesn't hurt you to have it. It doesn't help you to have it. It just doesn't affect you. But the cyanobacteria are helped because they have a nice home. They have food. They're able to grow and thrive in that environment. Mutualism is when both organisms benefit. An example of this would be between human and the E. coli in our large intestines. So the E. coli are getting to eat plenty of sugars. They have a warm environment. They're protected from our immune system. They're able to grow and thrive. We are in exchange getting vitamins that are made by the E. coli. Our food is being broken down by the E. coli. Without that organism, we are more likely to have digestive issues. So it helps protect us, and we help protect them, and they help protect us. Parasitism is when one organism benefits and the other is harmed. So any sort of pathogen growing on your body would be a type of parasitism. This could include because the parasite takes nutrients from the host. The parasite could make things that harm the host, but somehow one organism is being hurt by this relationship. This is when we step in and start applying antibiotics to kill that parasite. Two subsets of this conversation will be probiotics and prebiotics. So probiotics are living microbial cultures that are applied to or ingested to exert a beneficial effect. This would be something like yogurt that has live microbial cultures, kefir, kombucha, fermented foods. So you can get like bubby pickles that have those fermented microbes in it. A lot of fermented sauerkraut. And if you have an example of this, take a picture of it. Take a picture of you eating this, and this counts as your discussion board for the week. And then prebiotics are chemicals that selectively promote the growth of probiotics. So that breast milk that I was discussing earlier that people can't digest, but your microbes can. It helps promote their growth. A lot of fiber, so high fiber foods, oatmeal, whole grains, fruits and vegetables are great probiotics. They have ingredients in them that help support the growth of those probiotics. Without eating a prebiotic, if you are not eating something that will feed the microbes, your probiotics are not going to stay in your body. If you want those probiotics to stay in your body, you need to feed them, and you feed them by eating prebiotics. You can look up a list of prebiotics. You'll have things like apples. Probably depending on who's putting out the list, you'll probably have a list of specific brands or chemicals to eat. But if you are eating fruits and vegetables and whole grains, you are having a good prebiotic-based diet. Then let's talk about opportunistic pathogens. Opportunistic pathogens are normally the good guys, part of your normal microbiome, but under certain circumstances, they can cause disease. One example would be E. coli in your large intestine, great and important. But if that E. coli gets to other places, it can cause a harmful infection. So if it gets into your bladder, it causes a bladder infection. Your lungs, it causes a pulmonary infection. In your spinal cord, it causes meningitis. And in your wounds, it can cause an abscess. I think of a lot of opportunistic pathogens in cases of like burn patients where the normal stuff on their skin, without that intact skin providing that barrier, they're able to get into the body and cause disease. Or sometimes if you've had a wound and maybe that wound got infected with like a staph infection, that normal staph that's okay on your skin then caused an infection. That's being an opportunistic pathogen. Okay, so you can tell me how do normal microbes differ from transient microbes. You can give examples of microbial antagonism, be able to define that term for me, tell me how microbial antagonism is beneficial, give me specific examples. And how can opportunistic pathogens cause infections? While you're at it, be able to define prebiotic and probiotic and be able to list those 3 types of symbiosis and discuss each type of symbiosis. Okay, I will see you back for part 2 of chapter 14. Bye.